Hey guys, welcome back to Commander Insight. It's been a little while since I posted a video, so I wanted to get a new deck tech that I built. This is going to be a tribal deck. Before I do, just wanted to show you guys a pretty awesome mat that my wife made for me. It's Wilhelt the Darksaber, so for all you Star Wars fans out there. Anyways, moving on, we wanted to share with you the insight behind this deck tech and kind of the ins and outs of it. You know, why I chose some of the cards I did, and why I chose the commander I did. So I wanted to do a zombie tribal deck, and I had the two choices between these two cards. I'll probably know who they are, and have seen them before. This is Wilhelt the Rottcleaver. He's kind of newer. I think he came out in the Crimson Vow or Midnight Hunt, one of the two. He was the main zombie commander. He's kind of a new zombie tribal. I tried him. I played with him, built a deck around him with the Dimir, the black and blue, and it was just too slow for what I wanted. You got some good value off of Wilhelt and with your ability to access him at any point in the command zone, but I just found that it was slow. It didn't do what I wanted, so I actually switched to Varina. And the reason I switched to Varina, there's many reasons, but I think overall she can be built in many different ways, but as a zombie tribal deck, she also can do really well. And you could include Wilhelt in the 99. So we have a bunch of really cool cards in this deck. This deck is not that serious of a deck. It's probably a power level 6, barely scratching 7 maybe, but I mean, tribal decks can only get so good, right? So, there's really good tribal decks out there with elves, maybe dragons, and I thought zombies was another really good one, so I wanted to try it. And what's really cool about Varina is the fact that she has the Esper colors, so you can throw white in the deck, which gives you access to a couple more zombies that you wouldn't have access to, as well as some board wipes and targeted removal, counter magic, whatever you want. But what's cool about her is you don't actually need to play a single zombie in the deck because she makes all the zombies. Now we play a ton of zombies because that was part of the way I wanted to build the deck, was to have zombie creatures. But if you don't want to, she can just make zombies herself, and everything that you run, you can run 0 creatures in the deck and still create an army of zombies because of her second ability down here. So I guess I'll go over her real quick. Don't want to spend too much time, but she's Esper color, so she costs 4 mana for a 4/4 zombie wizard. And whenever you attack with one or more zombies, you draw that many cards, gain that much life, and discard that many cards. So you actually draw through your deck pretty fast with her. You also discard a lot of cards. And the life gain helps because it helps kind of keep you afloat. So this deck wants to attack with zombies, hopefully have those zombies survive so that you have them next turn. You're going to draw a lot of cards, you're going to discard that many cards. And so the issue that you end up having is sometimes you actually chew through your cards a little too fast. Sometimes you draw too many cards and you don't want to discard them all because some of them are too good, but you have to based on Varina's effect. So we run a bunch of cards to kind of we want stuff in the graveyard, stuff that we want to keep in our hand. So there's a little bit of a strategy behind it. Probably the downfall of the deck, other than it being just tribal, so you're limited there, but the fact that you have to attack in order to get the effect off. There's a lot of times when, at the end of the day, everyone's board, your opponent's boards have creatures, and sometimes they're stronger than what you have, and so you're swinging in knowing that it's full well that you're going to die. Your creatures are going to get blocked and then they'll get killed just to get Varina's effect. Sometimes you kind of have to do that, or otherwise you just basically sit for the turn. So that's the only downside, but we've got a couple cards to kind of build around that to protect them. So at the end of the day, like I said, this is a great zombie tribal deck if you love tribals, if you love zombie cards. We cram a bunch into here, and let's get on with the deck tech. All right, so starting into probably the most interesting and fun part of the deck is going to be the creatures. I'm going to start off with the non-zombie creatures because we do run a few. We don't run a lot because this is a zombie tribal deck, so a lot of them are just going to be all zombies, but there are a few really good support cards that we couldn't pass up. So we'll just kind of get started and get right into that. The first one we run is Geralf Visionary Stitcher. I love this art. This is from the new Crimson Vow, I believe. But it just says it's a human wizard, but it says zombies you control have flying. So just all zombies you control have flying, which really helps when you're swinging in to get Varina's effect, that a lot of times they won't be able to block if they don't have a flyer. So your zombies will connect better, so I like that. And then it has a second effect where you can sacrifice another non-token creature and then create zombies. Another very similar card is going to be Wonder. So very similar to the last card. If it's in your graveyard, if Wonder is in your graveyard and you control an island, all creatures you control have flying. I think this is actually even a little bit better, especially because you can discard it off of Varina's effect. So when you swing in with all your zombies, you can draw it, you can already be in your hand, but if you discard it in your attack step, then your creatures get flying basically at instant speed, and it kind of throws off your opponent. So pretty cool. Big fan of this card a lot. Another one is Gisa and Geralf, and this was the old zombie commander. This is like the original. But basically, when it enters the battlefield, you mill 4, and then during each turn, you can cast a zombie from your graveyard. So this is helpful because probably the most we're going to be discarding off of Varina are going to be creatures. This is a predominantly black deck, and a lot of them are black zombies, so they're going to be going to the graveyard. We have a lot of recursion to bring them back, but this is one of them, so really cool card there. Another newer card I run is Death Tyrant. Really like this card. It's actually come in handy a lot. The negative energy cone rule that it has, so whenever an attacking creature that you control or a blocking creature an opponent controls dies, create a 2/2 black zombie token. So the first thing to note is that this does not come in tapped. Varina's effect actually makes zombies that come in tapped. This one does not. So basically, if your zombies die or your opponent blocks them, then you get zombies. So it's a really good, I call it insurance policy, to make sure that you keep your zombies on the field, because either you're killing your opponent's creatures and getting more zombies, so they have to block you, or they're just going to take damage right to the face. All right, then next up we run the good old Scarab God. Also another really good commander himself. Technically not a zombie. I'm not sure why he's not, but he works really well with zombies. So basically, at the beginning of your upkeep, you have everyone lose life equal to the number of zombies that you control, and then you get to scry that many cards. It also has a really cool effect where you can exile any creature card from a graveyard and then create a token copy of it that's also a zombie. So if your opponent runs a graveyard deck, you can mill, or you can exile those big creatures and create the creatures yourself. And then last up, for the non-zombie token or non-zombie creatures in the deck, we run Archfiend of Ifnir. This is a demon, but it's basically a little mini board wipe every turn that you are able to get your attacks off. So whenever you cycle or discard another card, you put a -1/-1 on each creature your opponents control. So you swing in with Varina and 4 other creatures. You're going to draw 5 cards, gain 5 life, discard 5 cards. If Archfiend is on the field, all of your opponent's creatures are getting -5/-5, which is probably killing most stuff. So really, you're kind of safe to attack whoever you need to. Cool thing about -1/-1 counters is it gets around indestructible stuff. So there's a lot of really cool interactions, and this can take down your opponents really, really fast. So really good card. So that's it for the non-zombie creatures. So now we're going to move on to the bigger meat and potatoes of the deck, which is the zombies. All right, so first up for the zombies, we run 1 Gravecrawler. Love the foil art of this, but there's an infinite combo that runs around this guy. He's really good. I actually don't run it just because I don't have the other card, which is Phyrexian Altar. It is very expensive and probably $100 now, but he's a good card either way, just for sack fodder, just the fact that he can keep coming back. He can't block, but basically you can cast him from your graveyard as long as you control a zombie, and he costs 1 black, so it's a really good way to just keep getting him out. I also run a Carrion Feeder for sack outlet. He can get really big if left unchecked. We run a Corpse Knight, so this is one of the cool zombies we have access to because we run white. And what this allows us to do is basically start to drain our opponents just for playing creatures. So if they lose 1 life each time. Another similar card, which is more zombie specific, but Wayward Servant. Whenever another zombie enters the battlefield, each opponent loses a life, and you gain life, so it's a little bit of life gain as well. Really underrated card that I think is Binding Mummy. I really like this card a lot. It comes in handy, very, I guess, niche with the deck, but whenever a zombie you control enters the battlefield, so it can be tokens as well, you may tap target artifact or creature. So Varina's effect can be done at instant speed, so you can use it defensively or offensively. So there's a lot of really cool interactions with this card. Just having it on the field is a little bit of a threat. Shepherd of Rot, another really good card. Each player loses 1 life for each zombie in play, so it's not just yours, it's all zombies in play, and everyone loses the life, but your commander gains life, so you should be close to being more ahead, which makes the card worth it in my opinion. Undead Augur, great draw power, so whenever another zombie you control dies, you draw a card and lose a life. So kind of like the Midnight Reaper, but zombies, and it's a little bit cheaper. We run a Diregraph Colossus. This card itself can just pump out a whole bunch of zombie tokens. The first effect's cool. You get some extra attack if you have zombies already in the grave. But whenever you cast a zombie spell, you get to put a 2/2 black zombie token onto the battlefield. And this one does come in tapped. We run a Plague Belcher because part of the strategy is a little bit of gain and drain. So when it comes out, you put 2 -1/-1 counters on a creature you control, but whenever another zombie you control dies, each opponent loses a life. So you're swinging in with your zombies, you're sacrificing your tokens, they'll add up over time. Here's a really cool new one, Sararak the Archlich, I don't know. When it enters the battlefield, if you haven't completed the Tomb of Annihilation, you can return it to your hand. So what's cool about this card is there's actually an infinite combo with this and an enchantment that lets you play for free. But basically all you have to do is you have to run through the Lost Mine of Phandelver an infinite amount of times and you basically win. So because Sararak does not ever complete the Tomb of Annihilation, you're going to basically keep going through this. It's going to go back to your hand. You're going to play it for free with another card in the deck called Rooftop Storm. And you basically just keep going through and you're getting to Dark Pool. And every time you do Dark Pool, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. So it's literally a 2-card combo. Kind of cheesy. Your opponents won't like you for it. I don't really pull it off too often, but just having it in the deck and having it be there. Or you could just run through any tomb you want, which is beneficial to you. So I like the art of the card, so that's why I put it in. It's a 5/5. Next up, we're going to do Death Baron. Now we're getting into the Lords. These are basically giving all your zombies +1/+1. And this one also gives them Death Touch, which helps when you're attacking or blocking. So that's a really good effect. We got Lord of the Accursed, which helps with basically making sure that your attacks go through because it gives all zombies Menace if you use it. Also the +1/+1. The Lord of the Undead, the original Lord for him. All zombies get +1/+1, and then you can recur zombies to your hand. Moving into the 4-drops, we got Undead War Chief, probably the best Lord because your zombies cost less, and it gives them +2/+1, including himself. So that's really cool. We'll double up on the token effects. We got a Tormod the Desecrator. So basically, whenever a card would leave your graveyard, you create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. So you use Varina's effect, you're actually going to get 2 zombies for the price of 1. So you pay 2 generic mana, exile 2 cards, get a zombie, that'll trigger Tormod, you get another zombie. So pretty good to double up on those. And it's a creature, it's a zombie. So into some draw, we got Graveborn Muse. At the beginning of your upkeep, draw X cards and lose X life, or X is the number of zombies you control. So this can get out of hand real fast. Sometimes you gotta be careful. You know, if you're drawing 10 cards and losing 10 life each turn, you definitely want to win fast. Good old Wilhelt, like we talked about in the beginning. Another good card. He's a sack fodder. He draws cards. He can turn your tokens when your 2/2 normal zombie tokens die. He can turn them into decayed. I did have a Poppet Stitcher in here, but it's not worth it yet just because this is the only card that makes decayed zombies. So at the end of the day, still a great card. We run a Bone Miser. This card's actually really helpful. I think this is one of the better decks that Bone Miser can be in. 1, because it's a zombie, and 2, because it's like the Waste Not enchantment card, but for yourself. So whenever you discard a creature card, you create a 2/2 black zombie. Whenever you discard a land, you get 2 black mana. And whenever you discard a non-creature, non-land, you draw a card. So with Varina's effect, you're drawing, gaining life, discarding. So you get to choose what you discard, so you can kind of tailor it to what you need. You can make zombies, you can draw cards, you can gain that mana. It'll be in your attack phase, so you have to use that mana during that attack phase basically with instant speed stuff, or else you lose it. But regardless, it's a lot of value for what it does. Awesome card. Another really good card, Sidisi Undead Vizier. It's a search engine. Basically, you can exploit to search for a card, Demonic Tutor. One of our win conditions, and it's a zombie, Grey Merchant of Asphodel. I love this card. It's really fun to pull off. There's a lot of black pips in the deck, so we can get off a big, 12, 13, 15, draining each opponent, gaining a ton of life. We run Noxious Ghoul, kind of another board wipe, really cool card. This can also kind of be played offensively or defensively as well, based on the fact that Varina is instant speed. So whenever another zombie comes into play, all non-zombie creatures get -1/-1. So during your opponent's turn, they play a 1/1 that's really important. You can instant speed bring out Varina, or instant speed use Varina's effect to bring out a token, and then Noxious Ghoul would kill it. So we can really use this to your advantage. Also, we have a lot of mass recursion. So if you're going to like Living Death or, bring out all your zombies at once, but you're also helping your opponents bring out cards, it can wipe them as well. So pretty cool. And then last of the zombie cards, another white card. So this is why we play white. God Eternal Oketra. So this guy is amazing. Double strike on a 3/6, so he's really a 6/6. But whenever you cast a zombie or a creature spell, so not even a zombie, but whenever you cast a creature spell, you create a 4/4 black zombie warrior creature token with vigilance. So the vigilance is awesome because one of the big things is getting hit with the crackback, because you want to attack with all your zombies, but you got to tap them all basically to do that. So having vigilance really helps, because then your opponents are going to be more reluctant to attack you back on the crackback, or the fact that you have 3 opponents versus you. So that's really cool. And then the fact that it just creates more zombies. So you're going to cast a zombie creature, get a 4/4 zombie with vigilance, so it's a 2-for-1 essentially. But so that's pretty much it for the zombie cards in the deck. You know, like I said, Varina, you don't need to do that. Varina can basically be a completely creatureless deck, and all you got to do is just keep cycling through and discarding and putting stuff in the graveyard and using her effect. But I like the idea of having a whole bunch of zombies in the tribal support of it. So now we're going to move on to the next set. So we're just going to go over some of the artifacts, starting with the mana rocks, the obvious one being a soul ring. You know, easy, pretty much standard auto include. We run all the signets because we are not in green, and we definitely want to make sure that we can ramp as best we can. So we got Arcane Signet, Dimir Signet, Azorius Signet, and Orzhov Signet. And then for last for the mana rocks, I also run a Worn Power Stone. Definitely comes in handy. I like being able to tap it to use Varina's effect, just having 2 generic mana. We run an Expedition map because there are some lands that we want to make sure we search out. We run the Urborg Cabal. Sometimes you have too many cards in your hand and you don't want to discard down to 7, so you want the Reliquary Tower for infinite hand size. We run Protection and as well as Haste. Varina really is kind of important to keep on the battlefield. She's not like a super big threat herself, but she kind of gets your whole engine going because you can't draw cards if you don't have her out. So protecting her, but also just being able to drop zombies and then being able to attack within the turn they come out can help as well. Here's a really crucial card of the deck that I found out, Dolem Gate. So it prevents all combat damage that you would be dealt to attacking creatures you control. So this gets around one of the big problems we have, which is that when you attack with your zombies, they're likely to die. So this will basically allow you to attack whoever you need to get Varina's effect off, as well as protect your creatures so that they don't die when they get blocked. So really cool card, and it's only 2 mana. We run an Ashnod's Altar, a little bit of mana generation, sack outlet. Just comes in handy overall, really good card. We run a Crucible Worlds because we do also discard a lot of lands off of Varina's effect, so being able to recast them or replay them from the graveyard can be crucial, so just being able to do that is really nice. We run a Bident of Thassa just for some draw power. Like I said, with Varina, you are drawing a lot of cards, but you have to discard that many too, so you actually don't gain any advantage from it, just the fact that you get to choose what cards stay in your hand. But with Bident of Thassa, you would get to draw extra cards, so that's one of the big things about this deck is sometimes you end up with too many good cards in your hand that you don't know what to discard, and you have to make a choice. You discard the wrong card, and then you kind of screw yourself next turn or whatever. So with Bident of Thassa, and then there's another enchantment that does the same thing. It allows you to kind of replenish your hand faster. And then last on the artifacts is Alhamar's Archive. This is a good deck to run this in because it takes care of, we can take advantage of both of the effects. So if you would gain life, you gain twice that much life. So Varina's effect, we gain that much life. You attack with 4 zombies, you gain 8 life. And then if you would draw a card, you get to basically draw twice that many cards. So you're attacking with 4 zombies, you gain 8 life, draw 8 cards, and then you only discard 4 cards. So it's plussing yourself right there. So that's it for the artifacts, and then we'll move on to the enchantments. So not a whole lot of enchantments, but the ones that I do run I think are really good. So starting off, we run a Wizards class, which may confuse some of y'all, but yes, this is a zombie tribal, but we run a Wizards class. For the first effect, it's 1 blue mana, and you have no infinite hand, or you have no maximum hand size. So that's really important, just to have that. If you don't have a Reliquary Tower, this can be the other effect. But it also draws you cards. You can level it up, and then you draw 2 cards, and then if you level up to 3, whenever you draw a card, you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. So we do run a ton of stuff that you will be drawing a lot. So if you can get to that level 3, you can be putting 10, 20 counters on Varina over the course of the game, and now she's lethal with 1 swing. So to me, that's worth it. I like that card a lot. It's been working out really well. One of the other really crucial cards of the deck is Reconnaissance. So look up the ruling on this just so you fully understand it. But basically, you can use this during the blocking step as well as after you've actually dealt the combat damage. but it gives your creatures vigilance. It's like a weird wonky way of doing that, but it also can remove creatures from combat that would die. So whenever you attack, you're going to get Varina's effect, then your opponents choose blockers. If there's any, creatures that are blocked that you want to live, you can use Reconnaissance to untap them and remove them from combat, but they've already triggered from Varina's effect, so you get it. Or you could basically do your combat damage. So let's say that they don't block, or you get a full swing through, then you can do the combat damage and then untap all your zombies so that they are basically ready to block if you need to, so you're not left wide open. So it's a really, really adaptive card that has definitely come in handy. It's probably one of the best enchantments in the deck. We got Dreadhorde Invasion for some zombie token creation. You're going to be making a 1/1 amass army, and then zombies that have power 6 or greater gain lifelink, which does happen sometimes. We run a zombie infestation for 2 reasons. One, sometimes you do have too many cards in your hand that you can easily discard to create some more zombie tokens. And then 2, it basically allows you to create more zombie tokens, which allows you to basically double up on Varina's effect. So those are the big. It's 2 mana to be able to create zombies. You can do it at instant speed, so you can use it to block. Really good card. We're in blue, so we run the Rhystic Study, probably one of the only staples in the deck, other than maybe Soul Ring. Anointed Procession, because we do run a zombie token package. Our commander makes it, and a couple others in the deck, so being able to double up on that is very crucial. Very good card. This next card actually pairs really well with it as well. Necro Duality. Really love this card. Love the art on it. I got the full art version in the last release, but basically, whenever a non-token zombie that would enter the battlefield under your control, you create a copy of it. So it doesn't matter how it entered, it just has to enter. So if you cast it or if you reanimate it, those are really the 2 main ways you're going to get them out. But so you cast a mass reanimation spell with this out, you're going to get twice of every zombie. So you're going to get 2 Grey Merchant of Asphodels, you're going to get 2 Noxious Ghouls to make sure that your opponent's stuff dies, 2 Binding Mummies, 2 whatever. Obviously the legendary rule still applies, but you'll still get the enter the battlefield effect on the ones that are legendary. So really, really awesome card. Another really crucial card is Kindred Discovery. This is a tribal card. Any deck that's tribal that has blue in it probably wants to run it. And it works really well with this deck. So whenever a zombie would enter the battlefield or attack, you get to draw a card. So this gets out of hand fast because you're drawing off of your commander, but you're also drawing off of this card every time you attack with a zombie. So you actually are doubling it up. And then if you got the Alhamard's Archive, you're quadrupling it up. It gets insane real fast. You can draw a lot of cards. And then last for the enchantments is the Rooftop Storm. So you may pay 0 rather than pay mana cost for zombie creatures that you cast. Mind you, this does not say from the hand, so Varina still counts. You can cast Varina for free from the command zone. You will still have to pay commander tax, so if it's your second or third or whatever. But if it's the first time you casting her, you can do it for free. And also from the graveyard, anything that lets you cast from the graveyard, you can cast for free if it's a zombie. So that's it for the enchantments. And then the last section, well, I guess second to last section, is going to be the instants and sorceries. We don't run any planeswalkers because they're really kind of slow. This deck's already a little slow without green. But getting the instants, we run it in Tomb. So this card comes in handy real well. You could send, probably my favorite combo is to send Wonder, the card that gives all your stuff flying if you control an island, at instant speed. So they basically, your opponents can't block. You can also send Gravecrawler or whatever you might need. We run a Swords to Plowshares, just staple white. So the fact that we run a commander with white gives us access to that. I like this card, Fracture. 1, because it's relatively cheap, but 2, because it can pop an artifact, enchantment, or planeswalker. So it's got 3 targets. Generous Gift for the destroy target permanent. Really cool card. Empty the Laboratory, so get into the sorceries. So basically you pay 2 blue and then X, and then you have to sacrifice X zombies, and then you reveal X creatures from the top of your deck until you reveal that many zombies. So you pay 5 mana, you sacrifice 3 zombies, you go and basically search until you get the top 3 zombies, put them on the battlefield. So it's a really cool way to basically kind of cheat out. You can sacrifice your tokens to get real creatures. And it just helps a lot with digging through the deck sometimes. You could definitely get more value than you paid for. You can get 15 mana value if you get lucky enough. Diabolic Intent, sacrifice a creature, go search a card, so that little extra sacrifice a creature sometimes can actually help you out. We run a Night's Whisper just for some extra draw power. You know, yes, you lose life, but like I said with Varina's effect, sometimes you end up with having to discard cards you want, so we want to make sure that we have a lot of draw power outside of just Varina. We also run a Windfall for when you've exhausted your hand and need to kind of reset. Getting into some recursion, we run a Victimize. I know some people are against this card, but I don't really know why. This card is amazing. I run it in a bunch of graveyard decks. You sacrifice one creature, you get to bring out two. The creature you sacrifice is going to be a little piddly guy, and then the thing you bring out, the two you bring out, are going to be huge, your best two creatures in your graveyard. So you're always going to get a huge value swing with this card. Yes, they come in tapped, but just having them out is good enough. Then we run a Living Death. This is kind of a pseudo board wipe, so it exiles all creatures in your graveyard, and all graveyards, and then you bring them out in the field, sacrifice the field. So this is probably the best card, but also can hurt you if you're playing against a graveyard deck or if your opponents have better creatures in their graveyard. But it works for all creatures in all graveyards. So really cool. And if you do end up board wiping, that helps a lot. Patriarch's Bidding recently went down in price because it got reprinted, but this is a tribal reanimation. So each player chooses a creature type. So if you're playing another tribal deck, it could be helping them, but it's unlikely that they're a tribal graveyard deck because there's not too many of those. But each player returns all creature cards of that type from their graveyard to the battlefield. So if you say zombie, you get all your zombies from the graveyard to the battlefield. Your opponents may have one or two if they're not playing tribal, but odds are that they're not going to get anything, or they'll get one thing most likely. So, and then we run, last for the mass reanimation, we run a Zombie Apocalypse. Return all zombie creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield, tapped, and then destroy all humans, which actually comes in handy because there's a lot of commanders that are humans. So if they're on the field, you basically get to mass recur your zombies and then destroy all of them. So really cool card. It's coming in handy. Love the art. It's on theme with the deck. And then lastly, we run Vanquish the Horde. So you're probably never going to be paying this at full price. If you are, you're wiping the board with no creatures on it. But basically, this is can be a 2-mana Wrath of God. Just destroys all creatures. So if you're behind, if your opponents have a ton of cards, or just if you're going to win the game because you have death triggers that, drain them, this is a really good card to come in handy. So that's it for the instant and sorceries, and moving on to the last one. All right, so if you made it this far, you're probably thorough and just maybe want to see some of the lands. I know not everyone really cares about how many lands are in the deck or what types of lands you run, so I'll run through them real quick. This will probably take under a minute. I think I run 37 lands right now, just because we're in Esper and not in green. You end up discarding a lot of lands as well, so you definitely want to run some, but run a Godless Shrine, Isolated Chapel, Prairie Stream, Deserted Beach, Glacial Fortress, Sea of Clouds, Hallowed Fountain, Morphic Pool, Drowned Catacomb, Watery Grave, Sunken Hollow, Underground River. We run 1 basic plains. We run 5 basic islands. We run a bunch of different swamps, I think 7 swamps with a Bajuka Bog, Crypt of Agadim, Urborg, Cabal Coffers, and then into the Tri-lands, we'll call them Path of Ancestry, Command Tower, Polluted Delta, Flooded Strand. I don't have the 3rd fetch land yet, but we run a Reliquary Tower for the infinite hand size. This is actually probably a really important card. Temple of the False Gods, because I like to tap it to use Varina's effect. It's just, I guess it's technically ramp. It's useless up until turn 5, essentially. And then lastly is High Market. So that's pretty much the deck. It's 99 cards, some new cards and everything, but with Varina, I found that it's been a lot more fun than Wilhelt, than any of the other zombie commanders. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you have any tips and tricks that you also run if you run a Varina deck. I'm always looking to improve it. This is just kind of a fun build, so it definitely has room for improvement. I can run a bunch of different other cards that I can think of that I've tested or taken out. So yeah, let me feel free to share in the comment section, like and comment if you wanted to give me some advice or just kind of some tips, some strategies, whatever you might find if we have some pro Varina players out there watching, or if you're just looking to get into the commander and want to see what she's about, and you end up testing her, come back and, put a suggestion in the comments. I'm always down for that. And I love thinking of new strategies. It's part of the why Commander's so fun. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll get you next time.